Adam Schiff coming out on camera numerous times saying, I can't tell you what I've seen, but I've seen things. There's a lot more than circumstantial evidence about this collusion.
But there is more than circumstantial evidence. There is circumstantial evidence of collusion. The Russians offered help, which we know they did. The campaign accepted help, which we know they did.
Then you got Hillary Clinton saying, an air of illegitimacy around Trump's victory because of this. I mean, she was very clear about it.
Last March, you said you had more than circumstantial evidence of treasonous collusion with Russia.
Certainly said that there's ample evidence of collusion. I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy.
The noose is tightening on Trump. It's all going to come out.
Joe Rogan goes after Adam Schiff with the kind of blunt honesty Schiff has spent years avoiding. Schiff comes across as the kind of politician who survives on fog, confusion, and vague promises of proof that never actually shows up. Joe Rogan sees through the routine instantly, calling him out for what he is, a career political hustler who mistakes cable news attention for real credibility. Schiff isn't a watchdog, isn't a leader, and isn't even a clever manipulator anymore. He feels like a worn-out salesman pushing a message no one wants, except the easily fooled and the politically desperate.
Called him a Russian asset.
Listen, Adam Schiff, he was the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Adam Schiff knew. He never saw any evidence that Trump was in collusion with the Russians, or that the Russians were interfering in American elections, or that there may have been evidence of that, but there was no evidence that Russia and Trump were in collusion. And he kept saying it. He kept saying it on every news outlet he could. And he knew otherwise. And no one's held him to task.
Schiff built his reputation by dangling promises in front of the media, always teasing some big smoking gun or shocking revelation. But every time, those promises ended up empty. Rogan doesn't let that go unnoticed. He lays bare Schiff's whole act as a con built on endless suspense. Schiff is like a magician who never pulls the rabbit out of the hat, yet keeps insisting that if you come back tomorrow, the trick will finally work. And somehow, people still fall for it, because Schiff stays just smooth enough to keep them hooked.
You ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorites.
That Mueller and congressional investigations also revealed that Don Jr. was informed that a Russian official was offering the Trump campaign, quote, very high level and sensitive information, unquote, that would be incriminating if Hillary Clinton was part of, quote, Russia and its government support of Mr. Trump. You aware of that?
Sure, people get phone calls all the time from individuals who claim to have information like that.
Really, this son of a presidential candidate gets calls all the time from a foreign government offering dirt on their opponent? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think this is unique.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. The real problem for Schiff is that Rogan speaks to an audience that won't put up with nonsense. Rogan's listeners don't blindly trust politicians, especially ones who talk in riddles and never show proof. When Rogan tears into Schiff, he exposes the laziness and cowardice behind that polished image. Schiff isn't fighting for people. He hides behind committees and anonymous leaks. He doesn't lead, he chases headlines. And Rogan calls it exactly what it is, a parasitic political career, feeding on gullible voters and a media obsessed with suspense.
Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files.
And will you be able to review hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file. I am asked to look at.
Of course you won't. So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you won't.
You'll be able to review.
I'm not going to mislead this body, nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
you were
another question.
censured by Congress, Senator, for comments.
Think about how often Schiff promised a big reveal. Time and again, he strutted onto talk shows claiming he had evidence that would change everything. And every single time, that evidence either didn't exist or fell apart under the slightest scrutiny. Joe Rogan cuts through all the hype, comparing Schiff to a cheap Netflix series that keeps getting renewed even though the plot is dead. Same act, same script, but the audience isn't buying it anymore.
Yeah, Jamie, pull that video up.
As for this new FBI whistleblower report, I understand Kash Patel last night declassified a 302 FBI document showing that a whistleblower who is a Democrat, a career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intel Committee for more than a decade, repeatedly warned the FBI in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the Russiagate scandal. This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it.
Rogan's burn hits hard because it's grounded in truth. Schiff doesn't just overpromise, he lives in a constant state of overpromising. He's like a compulsive gambler, always swearing the next hand will be the big one. But every time the cards hit the table, it ends the same way, a weak fold. Rogan makes it clear this isn't just political theater, it's dangerous incompetence. Schiff spent years keeping Americans stuck in endless speculation while real problems went ignored. It was politics as performance art, and Schiff wasn't even any good at it.
A staff member began talking to the FBI in 2017 because he said he considered the leaks to be, quote, unethical, illegal, and treasonous. This is a Democrat staffer who is saying to the FBI he had a holy shit moment when he heard Adam Schiff give the order. These documents that outline the FBI's interview, like the FBI doesn't tape its interviews. They go back and they report what they heard in their interview.
He carries himself like every word he says is gospel, as if his self-proclaimed integrity makes him untouchable. But Joe Rogan doesn't buy it. He calls it out, tears it apart, and shows that Schiff isn't the wise elder statesman he pretends to be. He's the kid in the group project who talks the loudest, does the least, and still wants his name on top. Schiff's whole brand is posturing, not producing. And when Rogan digs into his record, it only gets worse. Schiff is like smoke, lots of movement, but nothing solid. Rogan's takedown shows just how empty that is, a politician who made noise his career, instead of results. The roast lands hardest when Rogan points out that Schiff is the exact opposite of what Americans need. People are fed up with lies, endless promises, and politicians acting like TV pundits. Schiff checks all those boxes.
Don't believe he's going to weaponize the DOJ to use it against his opponents. I believe that's what was done to him. Though, as we discussed with Alan Dershowitz in that now famous clip that went around where I said we need Steve Bannon, I'm not totally opposed to it. I'm going to be honest. Who would cry a tear if Adam Schiff actually got some sort of hassle thrown his way by the DOJ, assuming, I'm sure he's done something.
He's the polished, smug face of an establishment that thinks it can distract voters with flashy stories instead of real solutions. Rogan's bluntness cuts straight through that. He shows that Schiff is the kind of guy who thrives in Washington but would fall apart in the real world, where people actually expect competence. The genius of Rogan's takedown is that it doesn't need any exaggeration. Schiff built it himself with years of empty claims and dramatic gestures. Rogan makes it clear that Schiff embodies everything people hate about Washington: obsessed with appearances, allergic to accountability, and unable to admit mistakes, all while pretending to be a moral compass. Rogan tears down that facade, mocking the self-righteousness Schiff hides behind. The arrogance is ridiculous, and Rogan makes sure everyone sees it.
Stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. The whistleblower stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured that they would not be caught leaking classified.
This is where the roast hits hardest. Rogan doesn't just call out Schiff's past mistakes. He shows that the same act is still going on today. Still promising, still teasing, still chasing headlines instead of actually helping people. Schiff hasn't learned, hasn't grown, and hasn't changed. He's stuck in a loop, like a glitching robot replaying the same broken routine. Rogan lays it all bare, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Schiff isn't the bold leader he pretends to be. He's a caricature of everything wrong with modern politics, and Rogan tears it apart with surgical precision. Schiff has built his identity around being a hall monitor with tenure, making every crisis and every headline somehow run through him. It's exhausting. Rogan makes it sound even more absurd. Schiff isn't saving democracy, he's just saving his seat.
I'm going to shock the world right now and defend Adam Schiff. In response to the heat he's getting for the following clip.
It is an existential threat, Senator, and also I have not seen it yet, but from what I've heard about former FBI Director Ray,
someone in the audience behind
comments on 60
Pam
Minutes regarding China,
is videotaping Adam Schiff asleep.
Within our own country, infiltrating our water systems, our natural gas lines.
I defend Adam Schiff because these confirmation hearings are boring.
That's what makes Rogan's roast so sharp. He turns Schiff's whole persona into a performance. Schiff thrives on drama the way fire needs oxygen. The moment the cameras are on, he becomes this serious prophet, warning everyone about shadows and dangers. But step back, and there's nothing, just recycled lines and vague ideas. Rogan paints him like a horror director, always promising a scare that never actually happens. He's not just pointing out Schiff's leadership mistakes, he's breaking down the myth of him being some kind of genius. The so-called mastermind? Just a series of blunders hidden behind endless press conferences. And the more Schiff tries to act like the all-knowing prophet, the harder Rogan hits at the desperation underneath it.
This staffer was interviewed by FBI agents on several occasions and told those agents that then Congressman Adam Schiff was the one who approved the leaks to the media. That it was Adam Schiff who approved the leaks to the FBI Director Kash Patel has released new documents on how classified information was leaked to the media and weaponized against Donald Trump during his first term as
Rogan shows Schiff as someone so obsessed with branding himself as a truth teller that he seems to forget truth doesn't need a PR campaign. If you have the facts, you just share them. Schiff doesn't. He sells suspense like it's a hit streaming show people can't stop watching. What makes the roast hit even harder is how Rogan links Schiff's arrogance to the bigger disappointment in politics. Schiff says one thing for the cameras, then does something completely different behind closed doors. The difference isn't subtle, it's huge. Rogan points out how he confuses moral posturing with actually getting results. He also takes aim at Schiff's habit of playing the victim. Every problem somehow becomes an attack on democracy. Rogan makes it look like a cheap magic trick. Schiff's career has turned into a non-stop cycle of blaming anyone who doubts him for undermining freedom, as if questioning him is the same as betraying the Constitution. Rogan strips away that fantasy and shows just how ridiculous it really is.
So what's happened over the past 24 hours is Kash Patel has leaked documents that he has found, FBI interviews of a whistleblower who has identified himself as a longtime Democratic staffer. It's not a Republican operative, a Democratic staffer who was working in Democratic offices at the time of the alleged leaking in 16-17. This staffer was interviewed by FBI agents on several occasions and told those agents that then Congressman Adam Schiff was the one who approved the leaks to the media. That it was Adam Schiff.
Then there's Schiff's ambition, the Senate. Rogan makes it clear Schiff isn't chasing higher office to actually help people. He just wants a bigger spotlight, a larger audience, and more time to deliver his dramatic monologues. Rogan tears this apart by comparing him to an actor begging for a sequel after the first movie flopped. Schiff doesn't need a promotion, he needs retirement. What really drives the point home is how Rogan mixes humor with truth. Once you see Schiff through Rogan's eyes, it sticks. You can't unsee it. That's where the roast really hits. Joe Rogan exposes Adam Schiff as the perfect example of a politician who confused persistence with real credibility.
President Biden pardoned Adam Schiff at the end of his term. But unlike the one he gave to Hunter, it was a limited pardon.
It was.
And it only spoke to J6 and his work on the January 6th Select Committee. So it would not immunize him from any of the claims you and I are discussing right now, right?
That's correct. At least according to the legal experts I've talked to, he's only immunized for what he did related from January 6th forward to 2021.
Schiff has spent years acting like if he just repeats a shaky story enough times, it'll somehow become true. He seems to think that if he shouts loud enough, people won't question it. Rogan tears that idea apart, showing that repeating something without real proof doesn't build authority, it just creates noise. All Schiff has done is turn himself into the kind of footnote people scroll past. At the end of the day, his style of politics isn't about courage, clarity, or leadership. It's about clinging desperately to relevance, and Rogan leaves him exactly where he belongs, a warning about what happens when political ambition goes too far.